Hey YouTube, welcome back to Tinker with Tools. If there's one tool that keeps popping up in the comments, it has to be the Makita XGT lineup. Whether it's the drill or the impact driver, that is one thing that keeps popping up as to people that want to see how it compares to their favorite tool brand and see if that new battery platform is worth going to or if it's just not that big of an increase. Well, let's get into that today here on Tinker with Tools. Alright, so as I mentioned, pretty much anytime I do a video that features Makita or even one of the Makita competitors, someone will mention in the comments that I need to be looking at the XGT platform. And trust me, for quite some time I've wanted to look into it. Well, finally getting my chance to get into it, and I have to say my initial impressions are I'm quite impressed. Now, I'm already a fan of the Makita 18 volt. I featured both the XDT 16 impact driver and then the XPH 14 hammer drill in my testing before, and I actually love both tools, but neither one quite comes up as the most powerful. So let's get into it today and see if these are packing any extra punch being on 40 volt or if it's just more of the same and it's something you can pass on. All right, so first up is going to be the hammer drill, which is going to be GPH01. This tool is actually quite impressive. If you love the XPH 14 or any of the other top tier Makita hammer drills, then you're probably going to love this hammer drill from the moment you pick it up. Pretty much the only main difference is how you interact with the clutch. You still have a selector up here at the top that's going to allow you to choose between drill, screw, and hammer mode. When you switch into screw mode, the panel down on the base of the tool is going to light up and indicate which clutch position you are in. To adjust them, you need to press this button till it's flashing, and then you can adjust the position. The higher the number, the less the clutch is going to intervene. The lower the number, the more intervention you're going to get. When you switch back and forth between speed 1 and speed 2, it's going to remember what clutch position it was in for that speed. Now, speed 1 will go up to 41 positions, so there's a lot more refinement there. When it comes to this drill, you're actually going to get a bump in speed. In first gear, you're actually going to be at 650 RPMs, and in second gear, you're going to be all the way up at 2600 RPMs. So this should be a very quick drill, and we'll just have to see if the electronics can get out of the way and allow it to shine. Now, when it comes to the impact driver, if you've picked up one of the premium impact drivers on the 18 volt lineup, you've basically picked up this impact driver. Everything is very similar. The control panel has what seems like infinite different options for doing it. We'll try and showcase them a little bit today. So you have two sets of numbers. You have the 1, 2, 3 in black across the front. They are going to light up with green lights. You then have the 1, 2, 3 along the bottom. We'll get to those in a second. When you just have the green lights along the top, you're in the 4 standard speed modes. Speed 4 is going to be max impact mode. It's going to have a combination of 3,700 RPMs and 4,400 impacts per minute. Speed 3 is going to be hard impact mode with 3,200 RPMs and 3,600 impacts per minute. Speed 2 is known as medium impact mode with 2,100 RPMs and 2,600 impacts per minute. Speed 1 is going to be soft impact mode, which is going to have 1,100 RPMs and 1,100 impacts per minute. Alright, so now we're going to talk about the assist modes. To get the assist modes to light up, you press and hold the A button over here, and it'll eventually turn on that blue light, and then it'll cycle through the lights differently. So the first one is going to be wood mode, and on wood mode, it's actually going to start slow so that you don't tip the screw over by going full beans right off the bat. To make changes with the assist mode, you're just going to have to press the A button down there. The next one is T mode 1. Think of this one like for metal fasteners. So it's going to give you a lot of speed, and then it's actually going to stop as soon as it starts impacting. And so this one is actually designed for driving screws into thin metal, thin gauge steel. So T mode 2 is designed more for thick metal. After selecting those modes, you'll notice that the button 4 lights up, and that's going to have a little bolt underneath it. You're going to have the same 1 light lit up, and that's bolt mode 1. So in bolt mode 1, if you're tightening, it's going to stop as soon as it starts to impact. If you're loosening, it's actually going to stop as soon as it's stopped impacting. Bolt mode 2, it's going to stop a fraction of a second later than it would in bolt mode 1. In bolt mode 3, it's going to stop roughly 1 second later. There is a dual LED light right up there on top that does provide pretty good coverage. And then just like the 18 volt, you do have the quick mode selector that is going to allow you to toggle between the different speeds right there. I do really like that feature. And as always, the ergonomics on both of these tools are pretty impressive. The drill especially is not super light, but it is very well balanced, and so as you're using it, it doesn't ever get to be unmanageable. Now when it comes to the impact driver, a Makita impact driver is one of the best feeling impact drivers in the world. So my hope is that with this, we're gonna see a slight bump in power. On paper, we're running right around 1900 inch-pounds of torque. All right, so let's get into just some quick intro testing. We're not gonna do a bunch of comparison times here, just to basically show you what it can do. We'll leave some for when we do a comparison between this and the 18 volt impact driver and between this and the 18 volt hammer drill. But we are gonna kind of go through a variety of tests today and kind of feature what kind of power you're getting with these tools and what you can expect from them. All right, so to get started today, we are just gonna be driving some smaller fasteners just to kind of get a feel for what the different speed modes here. Go. So obviously speed 4 going to have plenty of power. All right, so we are gonna move up to a slightly bigger bit, and now we're gonna drive in just some larger fasteners so you can kind of get a feel for that. And 3, 2, 1. All right, so we'll put some comparisons up for how that compares to some other tools we have, just so you have an idea. All right, so if I had any impressions with the driving test, it is not the fastest. I think if we brought the Milwaukee out here and drove something in, we would see faster times. All right, so obviously it has no problems driving some of those bigger fasteners. Now we are gonna switch over to the drill and drive some of these bigger fasteners to give you a feel for what the drill can do. All right, in 3, 2, 1. Very fast, very powerful. It drove that head down beyond flush. We are actually going to now go up to something a little bit larger. It's a 5-inch, but then it's going to be actually 3/8 of an inch, or even maybe 5/16. All right, so the first thing we're starting out with is the 1-inch spider boring bit. Buttery smooth is the best way I can describe that. No resistance whatsoever, super fast. Okay, this is one I haven't featured on here yet. This is an 1.25 inch Irwin speed bore. In 3, 2, 1. Let's try it one more time. In 3, 2, 1. Obviously, if I go down to speed 1, I would expect to have no issue finishing that hole. Just like we saw with the Makita 18 volt, I almost feel like this one, the electronic intervention systems cut in earlier than what other tools do. We are gonna go straight up to our max bit. Our other high voltage tools, namely the Metabo HPT, and then if we're counting the Flex as a higher voltage tool, have been able to do this on speed 2. And even the Milwaukee, once we did the high output battery, was able to do this in speed 2. So as a 40 volt tool, with the premium price tag that this item carries, I would expect that it should be able to do this in speed 2. But if you're asking me what my gut impression is, this is going to fail in speed 2 and breeze through it in speed 1. And of course I mess up and do it in speed 1 first. So able to do it in speed 1. Now let's do speed 2. Here's the test. It does go through it in speed 1. It actually does a very clean hole in speed 1. In speed 2, it's not hitting a power limit, more of an electronic intervention that is kicking in and stopping this tool from being more competitive, in my opinion. I still think this tool is going to be able to go the distance and do harsher jobs. It's just going to do it differently than maybe what some of the other tools let you do. All right, so conclusion time. I think the big question that anybody wants to know is it worth it going to the 40 volt platform, or am I good enough to stay on the 18 volt LXT platform? Well, the answer to that question is probably a little bit more complicated than it seems on the surface. I think it really is going to come down to what types of tools you use. The impact driver, I don't think needs to be a 40 volt tool. I really didn't feel that it was that much different than the 18 volt version. Honestly, if you did what Mastering Mayhem did and put two of these in a box, the 18 volt and the 40 volt, and tried to pick which one is which, I don't think you'd be able to tell the difference. Now, the drill is where I think you start to see the potential of the 40 volt platform. You really start to see what this drill is capable of as long as you're playing within the limits that Makita has set up with the electronics of this tool. If you notice, when I was running on the smaller fasteners and then also doing the smaller drill bits, I was actually beating most of the times that I was seeing among other impressive drills. When you get into the bigger fasteners, I feel like Makita puts electronic controls in place to make sure you do not abuse the tool and therefore shorten its life. Those controls are put in place to make the drill last longer, and I am sure that it is going to do that. But that's not to say that it's not going to be a little bit frustrating when you know that your 18 volt Milwaukee running a 6 amp hour battery can go through something in speed 2, and this one is requiring speed 1. Now, I think it needs to be said that both of these drills have more complexity in their clutch or settings modes than what you're going to see on some tools. Everyone is used to adjusting the clutch in a certain way, and this is obviously counter to that. It's either going to be revolutionary and be adopted, or people are going to look at it as just slightly different and not really enjoy it when they're using it. The 40 volt platform was clearly meant for higher power draw tools, and I think when you get into their saws, you're going to start to see the potential of that tool. I just don't think that the impact driver especially is the tool where you need that kind of power. So if you are going to do the type of work that's going to lean more towards the bigger tools, then I think this is a great platform to get into. They are rapidly rolling out this 40 volt platform, and I think it's getting more attention than the 18 volt platform. If you're doing lighter duty work, I don't think it's worth spending the extra money to get into this platform unless you just want to be future proof. Now, the price of the tool is obviously going to be a barrier as well. The list price on this kit is $459. If you buy it from one or two different locations that we'll have listed down below, you can get the kit for $459 with an extra 2.5 amp hour battery. Now, with Home Depot at least, the battery is returnable separate from the kit, and so if you do decide to return that, you are going to bring the price of the kit down into the mid 300s, which puts it more on par with what you're seeing from the other top tier tool brands. All right, so that about wraps up this video. If you have any questions about what you saw here today, go ahead and leave them down in the comments, or if there's a test you want to see in the upcoming videos between the 40 volt and the 18 volt counterparts, go ahead and leave those in the comments too. If you like the video, go ahead and hit that like button, and if you want to continue to receive content from Tinker with Tools, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification so you can get updated as soon as I post a video. Thanks for watching, and this has been Tinker with Tools.